Hello, welcome to my very first episode of Zap Chat. I'm your host, Zach Probst. And I'm very excited to talk about our first topic today. So, I have this list here so I can keep track because I have to memorize something. So, I have a list of things we're going to be talking about. So, if those of you who have listened to my intro, we're going to be discussing of the following topics. So, the first thing we're going to be talking about is the live action Ghost in the Shell. So we're going to be talking about my very first review. Now, this has been about a couple years since the last time I watched it, and I've only watched it once. It was in the movie theater, and I was really enjoying it until there were some flaws here and there that I was like, oh gosh, really? You really into that direction? Of all the years you've been trying working on it, you put it in this direction. So I'm just really bummed that it wasn't quite the movie that I really thought it would that I thought it would have been like the peaking point of making movies based on animes. I really thought that movie would have done a nice push, but unfortunately it was pretty low. So here are my reviews about it, and I've been kind of thinking about it here and there. So let's start with the positive thoughts. My first thought of the movie is I definitely respect Scarlett Johansson's role playing Major. And she played a really great job. I really enjoyed her performance. So she really gave to her best on playing the part. I love the special effects. They really did a great job of treating it like it should be. The whole background designs is very well done, and they didn't hold anything back. I'm really happy for that. And also, I really was really surprised of how much they really went in of to make it look like a Ghost in the Shell movie. But at the same time, it just wasn't. I just didn't really think it hold up. I don't know. Since I've only seen it once, it's just kind of a bit of a blur in my head. But I really, really tried to enjoy it as much as I should, but not as much. But back on being the positive side, Scarlett Johansson, just right. The background designs was just right. The special effects was just about right. Now I'm going to talk about the negative side. What I feel about this movie is the story is not Ghost in the Shell. It is not what I remembered from like the animated movie, the TV shows, even the manga books too. I've read some of the manga books, and I was really, really disappointed that this story is not Ghost in the Shell. I was like, are you kidding me? This is not the Ghost in the Shell that I remembered. Come on, guys. It took you, like, what, 4 years to develop the script, and you went through this direction? I mean, come on, man. Jeez. Like, go deeper. Take your time. Like, you have to take your time of developing it, and you should be doing it the way it should be. From what I've heard, they only focused attention was to be a tribute to the very first animated movie and nothing else. So they didn't use any references from the TV shows, like even like the newer one. It's called Ghost in the Shell Arise, which is like the more latest Ghost in the Shell tone of it, which is kind of a reboot of it. And not even the manga books. They didn't use any reference in the manga books, and that just like, ugh. You seriously, come on, you have to do more research than that. You have to get to know the characters. If you're going to develop in a live action movie, go deeper of your research. I mean, come on, how hard is it to make this happen? It like God, it frustrates me. It's just they're not trying hard enough for the research. And so I was really disappointed how it turned out, the story. But everything else, Scarlett Johansson, the special effects, the budget of the whole background designings, they got the right direction. But the story, It's not Ghost in the Shell. Uh, oh, and also a thing I need to mention is um, what I felt disappointed was they were trying to focus on Major's origin story. And if you look back on some of the more, like the animated movie, the TV shows, or reading the manga books and all that, they kept her personal life very secretive. And she doesn't know about her personal life either. And uh, I feel like they should have gone through that direction first before talking about her own origin story, because I don't think it shouldn't be starting in that direction. So if you think about the movie, like for example, there's this movie that I really love called The Adventures of Tintin, and it's directed by Steven Spielberg and produced by Peter Jackson. And the story was very well done. And Steven Spielberg once said that um, Tintin has uh, a mysterious origin story. Nobody knows what his origin or what happened to his parents or anything that's from his past. So nobody knows who Tintin is or who his parents or any of that. So for what Spielberg did is he kept it just the same and not mentioning anything about his past. They kept it just the way it is and respecting his background story. So I feel like they should have done that the same thing for Ghost in the Shell. To start with that story. It's not that hard. Just have it respectful of the Ghost in the Shell story. So that's how I feel about the live action. It's just not the Ghost in the Shell that I remembered. And I want to buy the live action, and I was really hoping they come up with the extended cut version, but man, it pains me. It's painful for me to say this that um, this is not the Ghost in the Shell movie. Like they could have let the writers have more time developing the movie, and or let the company do more research of Ghost in the Shell, because it's not just the first movie, it's more than that. They've expanded such a huge universe of the media. So I really feel like they should have done more, like going deeper. And yeah, I just really thought that this movie would have been better. And I was really, really bummed for that. But so that's my review about Ghost in the Shell. And I was just really bummed that it just wasn't what I remembered. So for the future movies, I really feel that if there's going to be movies based on animes, right now we're starting to a good amount of movie titles that's going to happen in the future. I've heard that a live action My Hero Academia is in the works, and there's also going to be Attack on Titan, which they've done that in Japan. They made like two live action movies in Japan, and the look of it looks amazing. I never got around watching it, but the look of it is not that bad. It looked like they were going a pretty good direction. But for American viewers, they are in discussions of making it a live action movie here in America, and I I really really hope they pick the right guy directing the movie. I can't remember who exactly. I think it's the same guy that did uh, the Stephen King's It from the newer version, like chapter one and then chapter two. I think it's that guy. I don't know if it is or not, but if he is doing Attack on Titan, that would be fantastic. I can really see the tone and look of it. I think he can really pull it off. I just think he would need to go. I really think I really really think they should go deeper of the story, and not just the anime series, uh, not just the media. I'm talking about the manga books. So you got to go back and forth on the two. If you're going to make that happen, um, watch the anime series and read the manga books. Compare the two, and just have your take on it. Like, take some parts you like in the manga books and take some parts you like in the anime series. So just go back and forth and make it your tone of so the fans can really appreciate and respect of your direction. If you aren't doing enough research, then fans will know and they will hate you for it. So I'm just saying, please be respectful and do a lot of research. It's very important that you do lots of research. You're a fan. That's another important thing. You have to be a fan. And there are many anime fans out there who will take it very serious on picking one title of an anime and make into a live action. And fans will hit you right back and saying, "Don't you freaking dare ruin this for me. This is my childhood. Please don't break it." So, as a fan, please don't ruin that, because you're gonna be making a lot of fans upset. So I really hope that you get a chance to read my message and have my thoughts, opinions of how you should approach this direction. At least try to help out a filmmaker that's currently working on, as we speak, of a possible live action American version of Attack on Titan. And this is just my thoughts and opinions. Now there are other titles out there that are in the works. Like, man, I wish I had it written down, but there are. I would say there are some that they have done in Japan. We had the Full Metal Alchemist, we have Bleach, and we have Attack on Titan, and this other show called Kakiguri, which is a Netflix series, in other words, Compulsive Gambler, that was also done a live action, but it was made into a live action series. And oh man, I really did not like the live action series at all. It was like it was like watching a Broadway soap opera. Just really bad direction and acting and tone of it. Oh my god, I really did not like that at all. But for the anime series of Kakiguri, I hope I pronounced that right. I'll just say Compulsive Gambler, just so it doesn't confuse you guys. For the anime side of Compulsive Gambler, I love that show. That's becoming my new favorite show. I watched the first season a while back, and then I watched the second season, which I just finished about a month ago, and wow, I was really hooked in the show. And they I was really hoping the show would kept going, but it kind of stopped at the edge of the story, going like, oh, okay, so we're just stopping right there. Oh, okay, well, see you next year then. So it's I love that show. I want more. I don't know if I can wait for another year to happen. So, but yeah, I just really thought the anime series was a much better direction, and the live action it needs some work done. I just think they should go for a different direction for the live action series. Yeah, I might have to go back and relook on some of the list of movies based on animes, because I know there'll be more on the way. Let's see. Death Note. I should mention Death Note. I've not seen the anime series. I definitely heard of the live action movie that they did, and wow, that's got some problems. I really did not like the direction they were going for. I just think it's nothing based anything close to the anime series at all. They were really trying to go for a different direction for American viewers, and Death Note is a very bad example. We got a new one coming up. Is the live action series, which this is my childhood. I'm sure everyone is feeling the same way. That is Cowboy Bebop. that is becoming the new take on the live action version of Cowboy Bebop, and it's going to be exclusively on Netflix. And I'm really excited for the casting. I was really surprised they chose John Chow, which is the guy from Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, and played Sulu from Star Trek. And I was really surprised they chose him playing Spike, the lead role. And so that caught my attention. I'm like, wow, John Chow is Spike Spiegel. That's crazy. And I think that'd be amazing. Although I still want to see Keanu Reeves as Spike Spiegel, to be honest, for not just his physical form, but also his acting. I would love to see what would be his version take on Spike Spiegel. I've always been curious about that, and so that's how I kind of feel about movies based on animes. That's pretty much all I can think of that's going on right now. I'm currently watching, and yes, I'm currently watching some of the anime series right now. I don't have, I haven't had a chance to watch season 3 on Attack on Titan yet. It is on Funimation. I can watch right now, and I will be watching it soon. I just have to find the right time to watch it. I'm currently watching some more other anime shows at this time. That's kind of more. They're more shorter and easier, and not as complex and not as serious type of story. This is just more of an easier, calm, relaxing, smoothing anime shows. I can't remember which one I'm watching right now, but I will watch that tonight as soon as I finish recording to you guys. Let's see here. There are I wish I should have wrote down some more ideas. But we'll be talking about more anime stuff later on in the future. So don't you worry. There's just a huge variety of titles that I would love to talk to you guys. But as of right now, I just want to talk about some of the discussions that I want to get it out of my system and saying, hey, this should have been this direction. So right now, this is just kind of how I feel about movies based on animes, and I really think they should have gone to that direction. As of right now, we should probably discuss our next thing. We have I have a list right here. This is not an accurate top list. It's because of that I don't have a favorite, because that's not my thing of picking the number one favorite of all time, because, well, there isn't. So I really wanted to share with you guys one of my top 10 lists that I think, in my opinion, that I think they should be discussed, of the top 10 favorites, and discussing why these are my top 10. But again, not an accurate list. There's just so many of them that I would love to talk to you guys of a whole list of animes, but this is kind of the story that I want to talk about first. Okay, so to begin with, let's start with the bottom of the list. Let's talk about Dragon Ball Z. Now, boy, that anime show, it's such a great show. That show brings me back so much memories. What I liked about the show is I remember watching it back in the day. We had a Cartoon Network of Toonami, which normally aired Saturday nights, like around 6 to 8 p.m., somewhere like that. And gosh, it was such a long time ago. I would watch it like almost every day. Almost. Well, I would say almost every day, but it would mostly air it on Saturday nights. But I would try to watch it every day. Try to watch it. And Dragon Ball Z, they've been around for a long time. And there's so many seasons. And I can't just keep up with it. And the Funimation kept re-releasing a bunch of new releases. So they kept re-releasing a bunch of different versions of Dragon Ball Z, and it's so hard to keep up of everything that I just think that I think they should at least focus on the one thing that fans would want to buy and watch to make it easier for everyone. Because I can't keep up everything, and I certainly can't watch all the episodes from the beginning because there's just so many of them. But it was such a huge hit, and it was definitely the top listed animes that got everyone's attention going, I want to watch more of this, and I'm starting to become an anime fan. So Dragon Ball Z was one of the list of things that got me into anime as I was a young kid. But also there are two movies that was a huge inspiration as a kid. The two movies are My Neighbor Totoro, which is directed by Hayao Miyazaki, and that movie was the first Japanese anime movie that got me into becoming a fan. And another one, which I am a huge fan, is The Castle of Cagliostro, which is based on the characters Lupin III, and believe it or not, that is Hayao Miyazaki's first big movie that came out in theaters. So that was his first big approach that he was wanting to do. And after that, he started doing other movies, such as without Castle of Cagliostro, we would never have Nausicaa the Valley of the Wind, Castle in the Sky, My Neighbor Totoro, Porco Rosso, Princess Mononoke, and not even Spirited Away. We never had any of those if it wasn't for the Castle of Cagliostro. That's where it all started for a movie, like a big movie making experience. Now there are television shows that he did back in the day, but that movie was his first big step of his career. So Castle of Cagliostro and My Neighbor Totoro are the two big movies that I became an anime fan, and it means so much to me, and it meant a lot to me that I grew up so much of those movies. I watch it repeatedly over and over and over because it is such a good two movies, and it means a lot to me. So to move on of our list, our next one I want to talk about, which is focuses on more of a newer one, High School of the Dead. Now this anime show, it didn't do quite well in Japan. There wasn't that many fans in Japan that was interested, but in America, in the more Western audiences, that anime show was huge. It definitely got a cult classic phenomenon approach. It didn't do well when it first came out because there wasn't that much a wide audiences for it, but as time goes by, the Western audience caught a glimpse of the show, and so did I. That caught my attention. I started watching it and be like, oh my god, now that's an anime show. The story and the characters, it's definitely one of the it's definitely under the lines of over the top really bad horror movie flicks, and High School of the Dead was listed in one of those categories, but in a good way, not in a bad way. I'm not saying anything bad of the show whatsoever. I'm saying that is a good thing, because back in the day there were a lot of horror movies back in the 80s, and there were a lot of them going like, oh my god, this movie's so bad, but it's good. I love this show so much. And there's a lot of them. And for High School of the Dead, it perfectly fits in that category. And the acting is the voice acting of the English dub is so funny, and I'm really glad they went into that approach, and I loved it. I really loved the direction they were going for. And I just wish they could have had more episodes. It did kind of end it of a cliffhanger in the end, but I was really bummed they couldn't do more. I really do believe they would have done more in the future. Um, but no, this is just what we had, and it would have done a really great job in a Western audiences, but I guess in Japan it didn't really quite fit in well. And they were saying this, I think they were saying on a website that it's like top 10 worst anime shows that's ever produced. I could be wrong, but that's just what I read. And so and now again, not being any negative or anything like that, but it's just what I saw on the internet, and it didn't really do well. And I'm saying I love this show. I'm giving all my um, good beliefs and care and trust that saying I love High School of the Dead. That is a great show, and I think it'd be awesome if they do a live action movie, just so it would bring out more attention to the fans. I think they could pull it off. I think they could have it take place in Japan, have it more of a Japanese theme tone for it. I can probably see that, but for American Western live action, it's possible. I would say it would work because everybody would go see a zombie movie for sure. They don't care what it is. They don't care the story. They don't care the characters. They just want to know, does it look good? So a lot like the movie Avatar. That would be a perfect example. I did not care for the trailer. I did not care what the story is or who the actors are or any of it. All I know is the trailer looks so amazing, and I would pay top dollar just to go see it. I did get to see Avatar. I had no idea what the story is about, and I didn't know too much of the actors in. All I know is Sigourney Weaver is in it. That's it. So when I saw that movie, I am so happy I got to watch it, and it was the biggest box office movie success of all time. And that's how I feel about High School of the Dead. If they would go in that direction and have the trailer that looks good, I'm pretty certain that the audiences will go see it. Even if it's zombies, if it's just zombies in general, people would watch. Like especially from the Walking Dead series, when that show came out, first aired on television, it started out slowly, but right about the third and fourth season, it grew bigger. And more seasons go by, it got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. It was amazing show, and I still love that show too, and I'm hoping we'll see more in the future. So that being said, High School of the Dead is definitely the top 10 list of things that I wanted to share with you guys. So High School of the Dead, number one recommendation, absolutely. A horror genre zombie flick. And I'd say High School of the Dead, perfect example. So go check out High School of the Dead if you can find it. I don't know if it's available on Hulu anymore, but you might buy it on Blu-ray if it's still available. And I'm saying go find it, go watch it. You won't be sorry. It's really good. Please go find it and watch it. All right, next one on my list, Bubblegum Crisis. Surprised you, didn't I? That's right. Bubblegum Crisis is another cult classic anime series from the mid 80s. Now, this was a big one. It takes place in it's a cyberpunk genre. So for those of you who don't know, cyberpunk, let's see, the upcoming video game, Cyberpunk 2077, that is a perfect example of a genre. And for movie-wise, you got Tron Legacy, Blade Runner, some other ones as well. Dredd, like Judge Dredd, that's another one. Those are under the lines of cyberpunk, and I'm a huge fan of cyberpunk stories. And so for Bubblegum Crisis is another thing that I want to talk about just a little bit, because there's so much information to talk about because it only lasted a short period of time. So here's what I can say, just an idea in my head. So Bubblegum Crisis, the creator is a fan of Blade Runner and Streets of Fire, which is another cult classic movie. they put the two together and made it as an anime series. And I love Blade Runner, and I really enjoyed Streets of Fire. And now, for those who don't know, Streets of Fire is another like it's an under bad movie, but really good, which is under a cult classic favorite. And so, this is another movie I would highly recommend it to watch as well, because Bubblegum Crisis was heavily influenced in those two movies. And so I would really want to I really wanted to mention about that one because not many people know about this, and I have mentioned that to for some high school kid I told one time. It was this goes back like years ago. Some kid was a huge anime fan. He was going like, "What's your favorite anime series of all time?" And I said, well, the one I watch, my favorite of all time, you're never gonna watch it, and you never heard of it." And he goes, "Oh, come on, prove it. I've seen all anime shows." And I said, "Bubblegum Crisis." And he goes, "Oh, okay, never mind then." So, again, this is another cult classic anime show that nobody's ever heard of. And most anime fans don't really watch late 80s and 90s titles that much. Like, if everyone mentions this Neon Genesis Evangelion, and that's when like, oh yeah, yes. Okay, I would definitely heard of that one. So for that being said, I really enjoyed the anime show Bubblegum Crisis. I was really surprised of how well and good this show is, and I was going like, "Oh man, this is really good." It's about a group of women who are a lot like special forces kind of way. Um, and gosh, I hate being out of the loop of not telling you what the whole story is about because it literally takes me a long time to write all this information and to tell you guys. But it's basically, let's see, it's like watching Charlie's Angels but wearing armored suits kind of way. And I wish I can give it more description in kind of way, but that just gives you the idea. And but I do know about what went down of this anime show. Now, unfortunately, during production, they had a lot of technical issues of getting it made, and not many people were agreeing one thing to another. And there were a lot of copyright issues, and you're like, oh, since she's leaving, then you can't allow to move forward of making more songs, and so they had to bring in the new person in, and the budget of making it show was getting pretty expensive, and so they were having a hard time keeping up. And they were supposed to making about 12 to 13 episodes, but they only produced 8 episodes. So what happened was they were going to continue with the story and to have a conclusion, but the conclusion was never made, and I think they got the script done and the storyboards, but they weren't able to move forward of animating it. So the show got canceled and they moved on and never finished it. But we did get to see a whole new anime show. I think it's called Bubblegum Crisis. It was like 2040 or 2033, I think. And that one's supposed to be a whole new generation of story, and I've not seen it yet, but I will eventually. There's just so many other anime shows I want to watch, and I would definitely recommend Bubblegum Crisis. That is another thing you should check out. But we'll be discussing more of the deeper of the story. But tell you what, if you're interested in to know more information about Bubblegum Crisis, feel free to comment me in the comments below, and I will make another podcast episode which I will go deeper of the story plot of Bubblegum Crisis, or even like High School of the Dead and Dragon Ball Z. But Dragon Ball Z is like a never-ending story, so I wouldn't count that. So, for that being said, definitely go check out Bubblegum Crisis. You'll definitely enjoy that one. Now, on my next list, this is something I have been a huge fan for a long time, and it inspired me to make my own movie script that I'm developing. It's been on hold for a while because I'm trying to write down some more information as I go by. This is called Street Fighter 2, the animated movie. Now, this one may come as a surprise to you guys. Now, this anime movie means a lot to me. That anime movie is my all-time favorite movie. I was so surprised. The first time I watched it, it was on, I believe it was on Netflix, on streaming videos. This goes way back in like 2007, 2008, around there, on Netflix. And I started watching it. And as I was watching, I'd be like, "Oh my god, this is a damn good movie. Oh my god, I love everything about it." It's definitely under the lines of a hardcore '90s pop culture reference. The background is really dark and edgy, and the music focuses a it's got that grunge feel of a music, and I love that. And since this was made in the 90s, I grew up heavily in the 90s very much. And watching this just puts me a tear in my eye going, please, please make this into a live action. Please make this to a live action. Because it's by far, I wouldn't say my number one, but it's by far the perfect tone of what Street Fighter, how I would see they should make into a live action, because I think they can really pull it off, unless if I go to. This is definitely something that I would definitely recommend for everyone to watch. Now, to watch in today's role, you'll be able to watch it on Amazon Prime. You can watch that anytime you want. You'll be able to find it, and I think you might find some of the TV shows and possibly watch a really bad American TV show cartoon. I think which was during the Jean-Claude Van Damme Street Fighter. I think it was right about that era. But I would not recommend that one as much. But I will recommend watching Street Fighter 2, the animated movie. Now, one thing you have to know, guys, they made a couple different versions of it. Back in the day, we had there was this strict line where the differences between Japanese version and the English version, and like in American, we had I think we had a PG-13 cut, and we had the unrated cut. And then later on, we had the UK cut, which is a more of the line of an R-rated tone of it. Not like the violent wise, but mostly the language. It's basically adding an F word a couple of times in the UK cut. And so for the longest time, we never have a fully uncut footage that was the way it's meant to be seen until now. About a couple years ago, there's some anime company called, I think, Discotech, got a hold of the rights, and they were able to grab a hold of the completely uncut footage of the Japanese version, and then somehow remix it of the different versions of the English dub, and just compile it all into a fully complete uncut footage the way it was meant to be seen. And you'll be able to buy it on Blu-ray, I think for about roughly $20 or something like that. And I'm hoping you can still buy it online. If you buy it online, please do. You won't be disappointed. But if you don't want to buy it, you'll be able to watch it on Amazon Prime. And I would definitely say this is one of my favorite tone of Street Fighter. And it inspired me so much, I wanted to make it a live-action movie that I want to make of my movie script. And what got me inspired of the script was not just the animated movie, but what really inspired me was I was really disappointed of a live action movie of The Legend of Chun-Li, which was by far the worst tone. I really did not like that movie at all, which that'll be a next time video. We'll discuss it. Um, but man, I just really did not like that. And the Jean-Claude Van Damme version, I don't hate it because it's under the line of it's so bad, but it's a lot of fun to watch. And I don't really hate the movie because even though it's not based on anything of the Street Fighter characters whatsoever, but I just really enjoyed of what direction that they were going for, and I just find it really funny to watch. And I love, just to clarify, I love Jean-Claude Van Damme. I love his movies. And for Street Fighter, I find it just under the line of a really funny movie to watch because it's nothing related to Street Fighter whatsoever. But his performance is funny. I love his earlier films, and I even watch a bunch of his later films too. I can't really think of the top of my head on all of them. I've watched Hard Target. I've watched Somewhere to Run, I think. And, well, oh gosh, I can't remember. I would need a list of movies about Jean-Claude Van Damme. You know, I should do that as the next episode. We should talk about Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. I would love to do that. Okay, that'll be the highlight. We should talk about more Jean-Claude Van Damme in the future. So, back to Street Fighter. What inspired me on doing a live-action script were two things. Is one, I've watched the reboot of a live-action Star Trek, which J.J. Abrams directed, and the first movie was perfect. I loved everything about that movie. The tone of it, the right casting, it was just by far the perfect reboot. Like, it's a perfect start of a whole new generation of fans. And another thing that inspired me is it's this may surprise you, is a comic book story that I've read. It's called Superman Earth 1, which is written by J. Marco Straczynski. And I've read the first book, and holy cow, I was so surprised of how well this story is. It's new, it's different, it's edgier, it's dark, and I loved everything about this. So that's also what got me inspired for doing the Street Fighter script. So I just took the Street Fighter script by combining the Star Trek reboot and the Superman Earth 1 comic book story and just kind of put it to one and to make it as my tone and story of what the live action movie of Street Fighter should be doing. I'm trying to have that balance of not just for the fans, but for people who are not familiar of Street Fighter. So I'm really working my best to have this balance of making it just right. And what's the phrase? I'm on the wall, this brick wall of moving forward of my script. It's because I need to buy more manga books and more stories in order to move forward, to come up with some ideas, writing more of my script. But as of right now, I'm in the brick wall, and I don't have any new ideas at this point. And because I just been too busy of my daily life, the job and figuring out what to do, and the typical stuff that we've been dealing with. So I think maybe if I have time, I can go back rereading the script, and then I'll consider moving forward of the story. Now, for some of the other list I have here, we have Attack on Titan, which everybody knows about. So I'd say that Attack on Titan is another topic we can discuss, but we can save that one for next time, because everybody knows Attack on Titan and everybody knows about it. And since I've not watched season 3 yet, we'll save that for next time. But another one I want to talk about is Black Lagoon. I was so surprised about that one. That anime series would be perfect live action movie. And I think I would highly believe that very much. You just have to be very respectful of that one. Do not change anything. So if somebody out there is making a live action movie of Black Lagoon based on an anime series, whatever you do, don't change a thing. Everything about that anime series is done just right. So if you're really serious about possibly making it, just don't change anything. Just have Revi and Rock and no, just have it the way it is. Like if the character is black, find a black actor. If the main actress is American Chinese, find an American Chinese to play that part. And there's another Japanese guy, find a Japanese guy. Because everything about that anime show, I loved everything about it. Just do not change a thing of the characters, because the characters in there are perfect. And for the what the story is going to be, I would say probably have it toned down of some of the story elements of the episodes. There were some episodes that were just a bit slow, and I think they could have sped up just a little bit faster as the show goes by. But by all means, do what you can of the story, and just do not change a thing of the characters, because I guarantee you, you're going to make a lot of fans really happy if you make that happen. So if you do make it, then take all my money. If you make it look exactly like from the anime series, take all my money. I don't care. Just make it happen. Now for other shows, let's see here. We have Lupin the Third, which is a huge anime franchise. Lupin the Third is like, in Japan, that's their Doctor Who series. Lupin the Third has been around for a long, long time, like all the way back from the 70s. So I think they're close to being almost 50 years of Lupin the Third. That is a long, long time. For Lupin the Third, if you don't know Lupin the Third, please just watch some of them. Like, in fact, go watch The Castle of Cagliostro. That will get you a fresh idea of who these characters really are, and you won't be disappointed. It's one of my favorite characters. I love Lupin the Third so much. If you don't know Lupin the Third, just you don't want to hear me say it, talking about it, because there's just so much information to talk about, and they've been around for a long, long time. Just go out there, watch The Castle of Cagliostro, and tell me what you think of it. And if you do like it, go out and find the TV shows. There are about more than 20 anime movies that Lupin the Third was made. So please make it happen. Let's see. Another thing I would like to talk about is Flcl, which means Fulikuli. Another anime show. This was a huge thing in my childhood. They only made about 6 episodes, and this aired back in early 2000s, so about roughly 20 years ago. And this anime show meant a lot to me. The animation is beautifully done. The music is very alternative rock or punk rock songs, and the characters are funny as hell, and I loved everything about it. It was aired right about when Adult Swim first appeared on Cartoon Network, which is a program for adults that can watch late night. And for animes, it was mostly aired on Saturday nights and play most Japanese animes. So we have shows such as, not just Fulikuli, but we have shows like Tenchi Muyo, Cowboy Bebop, Inuyasha, Bleach. Naruto is a maybe, but it was available to watch like around 5 or 6 p.m. So Cartoon Network was able to make it for everybody to watch. They made it more child friendly at that time. So I don't think it was aired on Adult Swim. And there were a bunch of other anime shows they added as well. I think there's Big O was another one, and we have a bunch of other shows that aired as well. I think most other shows we have Robot Chicken was there exclusively to of Adult Swim, and they've been around for a long, long time. And there's C Lab 2021, and there's Harvey Birdman was another one, and the Venture Brothers, which is that one's been around for a long time. A lot of those shows were amazing, and for animes, that's what got me into more involvement of becoming an anime fan. So it's not just a Castle of Cagliostro involved, doing more of expanding my fanboy experience. But yeah, Fooly Cooly was another big hit. It's such a fun, wacky, funny as hell, great songs that they put up. The band is called The Pillows, which they did most of the songs of the Fooly Cooly series. And oh yes, they just did season 2 and 3, which is brand new. You can watch it on Adult Swim, and it's brand new. It aired, was it last year or two? It might have been last year. It is such a great show. I was only able to get around watching the second season, and it's really good. But for the third season, I'm going to have to take my chances on watching that one. I think maybe tomorrow if I have time. And I'll start watching it, and hopefully, I really hope it'll be available on Blu-ray in the future, because I would love to buy the Blu-ray anime series for sure. But yeah, Fooly Cooly is another of my childhood fanboy experience, and which brings up to another topic that was from Adult Swim called Cowboy Bebop. Now, what should I talk about Cowboy Bebop? Well, it's an anime show that has been around for about 20 years, strongly, very strong fan base. It is the most number one highly recommended anime series of all time. So if you're thinking an anime show, Cowboy Bebop is the number one thing you must watch, hands down. That anime show, I would say it inspired everybody of how strong the show is. And since we're going to be getting a live action series in the future, like hopefully it should be available in next year or two, that would happen. And I'm really excited for to go watch. And for the anime series, it's one of those shows I would go back in and rewatch it all the time. It's definitely the lines of the top 10 TV shows that I would watch repeatedly from the beginning to end over and over for a lifetime. Cowboy Bebop is one of them. Another one would be Quantum Leap, and another would be Star Trek: The Next Generation. Those are listed of TV shows that I would watch repeatedly, beginning to end, over and over for the rest of my life. And Cowboy Bebop has been my favorite for the longest time. And I'm sure everybody else is thinking the same thing as well. So if you're thinking the same page as me, good for you, because it is definitely a really, really good show. And lastly, that I want to talk about before I end the video is My Hero Academia. I am actually all caught up except the animated movie. As soon as I save up my money, I'm going to buy the animated movie and I'm going to go watch it. And I'm waiting for season 4 of My Hero Academia, which will be available sometime in this fall. And I'm very excited to see it. I'm all caught up with the shows, and I'm super excited. And I love everything about that show. And I do highly believe that making that into a live action movie would definitely be something that could happen. Because since we have the strong base of superhero movies with Marvel and DC, My Hero Academia fits in those categories that a lot of fans will go watch and see. And I think for My Hero Academia, I really think they can really pull it off. If they make it into a movie, then good, make it into a movie. But if they can go deeper, such as a Netflix series, that's very possible. Hear me out with this. If the Cowboy Bebop series on Netflix is the granddaddy jewel of the top best anime show of all time, and if the anime, or I should say, if the live action series of Cowboy Bebop does really well, it's very likely that My Hero Academia would be the next title to be made into a Netflix live action series. I really do believe that could happen. I'm not saying officially it is happening. I'm saying they should, and I believe it could happen. And so for My Hero Academia, what's the scale of how I feel about the show? I give it a 9 out of 10. So it's not quite a 10 out of 10. Not quite. Because it's still an ongoing series. So I can't say 10 out of 10 because there's no conclusion yet. So since the show is still ongoing, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. Because this is definitely the show I cannot wait this fall to see more what's happening. And for talking about Hayao Miyazaki, if I'm going to be discussing Hayao Miyazaki, I'm going to have to go dig deeper on that category. And and since this is a list of ideas that I think are my top 10 favorite animes, which is not accurate, I will definitely go back in and I'll share deeper with you guys. But I'll tell you what, with the list of anime shows I have here, if you want to know more about either Cowboy Bebop, My Hero Academia, Fooly Cooly, Lupin the Third, Attack on Titan, Street Fighter II, the animated movie, Bubblegum Crisis, High School of the Dead, and Dragon Ball Z, feel free to put the comments down below and I will dig deeper for it. But if you want me to share with you guys to know about those shows, let me know, and I'll do some digging about those anime show, and I'll write down a summary of what the story is about. So, for that being said, the Hayao Miyazaki, I'm gonna have to wait on the next time's episode. So, unfortunately, my time has run out, and it's time for me to move on. And I really hope you enjoyed the first episode. So, coming up on the next episode of Zap Chat on podcast, we'll be discussing about Hayao Miyazaki, and then we're going to be discussing more about video games. And I think there's going to be a whole big of selection of video games. So why don't we break it down to a smaller scale for video games? Let's talk about Sega. That'll be our next episode. We're going to be talking about Hayao Miyazaki and Sega. That would be next time. I am your host, Zach Probst, and this is Zap Chat on podcast. So have a good night, folks, and I hope you enjoyed the show.